Michael Dawson had built a successful business empire from the ground up, earning respect not only for his financial success, but for his fairness and leadership. He owned several high-end retail stores, and while business was thriving, Michael had begun to notice something troubling. Over the years, he had hired countless employees, and while most were hardworking, he couldn't shake the feeling that there was an unspoken dynamic in the store. There was something subtle, something unspoken about the way people interacted with customers, something that wasn't always fair. As a black man who had risen through the ranks of the corporate world, Michael had often faced challenges related to his race. He was well aware of how people could make assumptions about someone based on their appearance, and he began to wonder if that same subtle bias was seeping into the way his employees treated customers in his stores. He had always prided himself on creating a welcoming and inclusive atmosphere, but Michael realized he needed to know for sure if his employees were truly providing equal service to every person who walked through the door. After giving it some thought, Michael decided he needed to test his theory. He wanted to see firsthand how his employees would treat a customer without knowing who he really was. He came up with a plan that seemed simple enough. He would dress casually, in clothes that were far from what he usually wore when visiting his stores, and visit one of his shops pretending to be just another customer. He hoped that by doing this, he could see if they treated everyone the same, regardless of their appearance or background. The idea of blending in and becoming just another customer made Michael feel uneasy at first. He had spent years building his business and reputation, and he was accustomed to people recognizing him right away. But he knew this was necessary. He needed to observe his staff's actions without any preconceived notions clouding their judgment. So, one morning, he set out for the store, wearing a simple hoodie, jeans, and sunglasses. No designer suits, no expensive watches, just a regular man walking into the store. He wasn't sure what he would find, but he was determined to learn. As Michael stepped into the store, he took a deep breath and looked around. The employees were busy with their tasks, some arranging clothes, others assisting customers, but no one seemed to pay him much attention. He strolled casually around the store, picking up a few items and walking to different sections, pretending to browse. It was clear that he wasn't a regular customer, but no one seemed to take any special notice. He didn't want to make it obvious he was conducting a test, so he simply observed, making mental notes of how each staff member interacted with him. There were moments when he felt completely invisible, and moments when he felt he was being treated with indifference. He watched as other customers, mostly white, came into the store and were immediately greeted warmly by the staff, offered assistance, and even asked if they needed help finding anything specific. Meanwhile, Michael was left to his own devices, only receiving brief interactions when he asked for assistance. It wasn't a shocking discovery, but it was disappointing. The way the staff interacted with him wasn't overtly rude, but there was a clear difference in their enthusiasm. They didn't go out of their way to offer personalized service or go the extra mile. Michael was beginning to see that there was an underlying bias in how people were treated based on their appearance. His suspicions were confirmed, but he couldn't help but feel let down. He had expected better from his own team, and now he knew he had to do something about it. After spending a little more time in the store, Michael decided it was time to leave. But as he walked out the door, he knew that this was only the beginning of his journey to bring change to his business. He had learned what he needed to know. Now, it was time to take action. The next step would be difficult, but it was something that had to be done if he wanted to build a truly fair and inclusive environment for both his employees and customers. He didn't just want to address the problem. He wanted to change it, for the better. The experiment was over, but Michael now had the answers he needed. The real challenge, he knew, was what to do with this new information. After his experience in the store, Michael couldn't stop thinking about the results. The indifference he had faced as a regular customer had been disappointing, but it also motivated him to take action. He wasn't angry, but he was determined to make a change. He knew that something needed to be done to address the subtle biases in his store. His employees weren't necessarily bad people, but they had been influenced by unconscious biases they weren't aware of. Michael wanted to help them understand this and create an environment where all customers felt valued, no matter their appearance or background. The next morning, Michael gathered his management team. He knew this wouldn't be easy, but he also understood that change often required difficult conversations. He couldn't just address this issue in a way that would make the employees defensive or dismissive. Instead, he decided to be open and transparent. He called the meeting and invited all the staff members, making sure that everyone knew the discussion would be about something important, something that affected the company as a whole. When everyone gathered in the meeting room, Michael started by explaining the importance of providing excellent service to every customer. He spoke about his own experience, how he had dressed as a regular customer, and walked into the store without revealing who he was. He told them how he had observed the subtle differences in how they treated customers based on their appearance. He didn't name anyone specifically, but he made it clear that this was an issue that needed attention. The room was silent for a few moments as the employees processed what Michael had said. Some of them looked uncomfortable, while others seemed surprised. They had no idea that their behavior could have been perceived as biased. Michael continued, emphasizing that this wasn't about blaming anyone. Instead, it was about recognizing that bias, whether conscious or unconscious, existed everywhere, and it was their responsibility to address it. He didn't expect perfection right away, but he wanted them to be aware of their actions and to take the initiative to treat every customer with respect, no matter who they were. Michael offered a solution to help them address this issue. He suggested that they participate in diversity and inclusion training, where they could learn about unconscious bias and how it impacts the way people are treated. He explained that this training wasn't about making them feel guilty or ashamed. It was about giving them the tools they needed to improve their interactions with customers and to make the store a more welcoming place for everyone. Some of the employees seemed hesitant, unsure of what to expect from the training. But Michael reassured them that this was an opportunity for growth, not just for them as individuals, but for the business as a whole. "We all have room to grow," he said. "I want to build a business where everyone feels respected and valued. That starts with us, every single one of us in this room." The discussion that followed was insightful. Several employees shared their thoughts, and some even admitted that they hadn't realized the biases that influenced their actions. There was an openness to the idea of improving, and as the meeting continued, Michael felt hopeful. It was clear that the team was willing to change, but they needed guidance and support to understand the issue fully. After the meeting, Michael set up the training sessions and worked with diversity experts to create a curriculum that would engage the employees and give them practical strategies to combat bias. He also introduced new policies for customer service, emphasizing that every customer deserved the same level of respect and attention, no matter their background. Michael made sure to follow up regularly, checking in with his team to see how they were doing and providing additional support where needed. It wasn't a quick fix, but Michael could already see the changes taking place. The employees started making an effort to greet every customer with the same enthusiasm and attention, no longer letting their judgments cloud their interactions. Michael felt proud of the progress they were making, but he knew there was still more work to be done. The journey to eliminating bias was ongoing, but he was committed to the process. It wasn't just about improving his store. It was about creating a culture of inclusivity that would make a lasting difference for everyone involved. In the following weeks, customers began to notice the change in the store. The staff was more attentive, more eager to help, and customers responded positively. Michael knew that it would take time to fully change the culture, but he had already seen the first steps towards something better. His experiment, although challenging, had given him the insight he needed to help his employees grow, and that, in turn, would help the business thrive. After the training sessions, Michael began to notice small but significant changes in the way his employees interacted with customers. At first, it was subtle, a friendly smile here, a more attentive ear there. But over time, these small changes added up to something much bigger. Employees began to offer help to every customer, regardless of their background, and the store felt warmer, more welcoming. Michael watched from the sidelines, feeling a sense of pride in how his team was transforming. He could see that they were genuinely trying to improve, and the impact was evident in the way customers responded. One afternoon, as Michael was walking through the store, he observed an interaction that made him stop and smile. A young woman, who had been quiet and reserved during the initial training, was helping an elderly man find a specific coat. He wasn't sure what it was about the moment, but there was something different in the way she interacted with him. She listened carefully to his needs, walked him through the store to find the right size, and made sure to ask if he was comfortable. She even chatted with him, making him feel valued as a person, not just a customer. Michael could see the effort she was putting in, and it filled him with hope for the future of his business. As the weeks went by, these kinds of interactions became the norm. It wasn't just about the training anymore. It had become a part of the culture. Employees were no longer just following the rules of customer service. They were genuinely embracing the idea that every customer deserved the same level of respect and attention. Michael could see the change in the staff's attitudes as well. They were more confident in their ability to help customers, and their interactions felt more authentic. The smiles were more genuine, and the conversations felt more natural. It wasn't forced. It was real progress. One evening, after closing the store for the night, Michael sat down with his management team to reflect on the progress they had made. They talked about how far they had come since the test he had conducted, and how much they had learned. It was clear to Michael that the training had not only taught the employees about unconscious bias, but had also opened their eyes to the power of their own actions. They now understood how important it was to make every customer feel seen and heard. "We've made great strides," Michael said, looking around at his team with a proud smile. "But we can't stop here. We need to continue this journey and make sure we're always growing. The world is constantly changing, and we need to be adaptable. Every person who walks through these doors deserves our full attention, no matter who they are." The team nodded in agreement, and Michael could see the renewed commitment in their eyes. They were all in this together, and they understood that they had a responsibility not only to the business but to their customers. Michael knew that this was just the beginning, and while they had made tremendous progress, there was still work to be done. It was important to keep reinforcing these values and ensure that they became second nature to every employee. A few months later, Michael walked into the store once more, this time without any disguise. He wasn't there to test the employees anymore. He simply wanted to see how they had progressed. As he entered the store, he was greeted by the same employees who had been part of the transformation. They greeted him with enthusiasm and warmth, treating him like any other customer. They didn't recognize him immediately, and Michael smiled to himself. He had come full circle, from being a customer to now being a proud owner of a store that was living up to its values. Later, one of the employees, the young woman who had helped the elderly man, approached Michael. "I just wanted to say thank you," she said with a smile. "I feel like I'm really making a difference here. It's not just about selling clothes anymore. It's about making people feel welcome." Michael felt a deep sense of satisfaction. It was moments like these that reminded him why he had started the experiment in the first place. It wasn't just about uncovering bias. It was about creating a culture where people could thrive, where employees could grow, and where every customer was treated with dignity and respect. He knew they were on the right path, and he was excited to see where this journey would take them next. For Michael, this was more than just a business. It was about creating a legacy of fairness and kindness, one that would be felt by customers and employees alike for years to come. The future was bright, and Michael knew he had made a lasting impact, not just on his store, but on the people who worked there and the community they served. As Michael continued to see the positive changes in his store, he realized that the work was far from over. The progress his employees had made was inspiring, but he knew that true transformation required ongoing effort. The subtle biases that existed in the world couldn't be erased in a single training session or a few weeks of improvement. Michael understood that creating a truly inclusive and welcoming environment meant nurturing these changes long-term. It wasn't just about teaching employees how to behave differently. It was about creating lasting habits that would become a part of the store's culture. To ensure this, Michael decided to implement regular check-ins with his employees. He scheduled monthly meetings where they could discuss their experiences, challenges, and how they could continue to improve. These meetings were designed not only to provide support, but also to keep the conversation about bias and inclusivity alive. He didn't want anyone to become complacent or forget the important lessons they had learned. Instead, he encouraged open dialogue, allowing the team to reflect on their actions, ask questions, and share their successes. One of the first discussions of the monthly meeting focused on a situation that had occurred in the store. An employee, Jake, shared how he had helped a woman who seemed lost while shopping. She wasn't asking for assistance at first, but Jake had noticed that she was looking around, uncertain. Without hesitation, he approached her and asked if she needed help finding anything. The woman smiled, thanked him, and mentioned that she had been hesitant to ask for help because of her accent, worried that she might be judged. Jake's story was an eye-opener for the entire team. It revealed that sometimes customers might feel uncomfortable or reluctant to ask for help, even when they need it. Michael was impressed by Jake's sensitivity to the situation and praised him for his actions. The story sparked a thoughtful conversation about how they could be more proactive in offering help and ensuring that no one ever felt judged or out of place. During this meeting, Lisa, the young woman who had previously struggled with customer interactions, shared her own growth. She spoke about a recent experience where she had assisted an older man in finding a suit. Lisa had learned to go beyond just the basics of customer service. She now made it a point to ask questions, listen closely to customers' needs, and pay attention to the details. The man had been so impressed with her care and attention that he left the store with a smile, thanking her for making his shopping experience enjoyable. This moment meant a lot to Lisa, who had struggled with self-doubt before. Now she felt confident in her ability to provide exceptional service, regardless of the customer's appearance or background. As the weeks turned into months, Michael saw even more examples of how his employees were embracing the lessons they had learned. They were going above and beyond for every customer, showing kindness and respect in ways that felt natural rather than forced. There were no more subtle differences in how customers were treated, and Michael couldn't have been prouder. His team had internalized the values of inclusivity, and it was clear that their efforts were not just improving customer service, but also fostering a deeper sense of community within the store. One day, as Michael was visiting another branch of his store, he received a call from the manager of the original location. The manager informed him that a regular customer had stopped by to share their positive feedback. The customer had mentioned that they had been coming to the store for years, but had recently noticed how much friendlier and more helpful the staff had become. The customer said it was clear that the team was genuinely interested in making everyone feel comfortable and welcome, no matter who they were. Hearing this filled Michael with a sense of pride. It was proof that the changes were not just internal, they were being noticed by the customers, and that made all the difference. The feedback from the customer reinforced what Michael had hoped for from the beginning, that the store would become a place where everyone, regardless of race, background, or appearance, could feel valued. It wasn't just about improving the service. It was about changing the way people felt when they walked through the door. Michael knew that this shift in mindset wasn't just a victory for his business. It was a small but significant step toward breaking down the biases that existed in society. As Michael's commitment to inclusivity continued, he found himself more involved in his store's day-to-day operations than ever before. He had always been a hands-on owner, but now he was especially focused on making sure that the culture of respect and fairness remained intact. It wasn't just about improving customer service anymore. It was about making sure every employee truly believed in the values they had worked so hard to instill. One day, Michael received a call from a loyal customer who had been shopping at his store for years. The customer, a woman named Karen, was an elderly regular who always enjoyed the store's atmosphere. She called to speak to Michael personally, something that was rare, but she had something important to say. When Michael picked up, she immediately thanked him for the changes she had noticed. "I've been coming to your store for years, and I've never felt more welcome than I do now," Karen told him, her voice filled with warmth. "The staff is so kind. They make an effort to connect with me, and I can see that they're genuinely trying to help. I can feel the difference in the atmosphere. It's a wonderful change." Hearing this feedback from a longtime customer filled Michael with pride. It wasn't just the employees who were noticing the change, it was the customers too. This confirmed that his experiment and the steps he had taken were working. But Michael knew that the true success of his efforts wasn't just in the compliments, it was in how the staff themselves felt about their work. With that in mind, he decided to do something special to show his appreciation for the team. He organized a small event at one of his stores, inviting all employees for an afternoon of celebration and recognition. Michael wanted to take the time to publicly acknowledge the progress they had made and reward them for their hard work. He didn't want it to be a corporate speech, though. Instead, he made it a relaxed, casual gathering where employees could share their experiences and stories. When the event day arrived, the store was filled with energy. Employees, who had previously been shy or unsure about the changes, now spoke with confidence about how they had grown. Lisa, the young woman who had struggled in the past, spoke up during the meeting, her voice steady as she shared a personal story. "When I first started here, I was always nervous about making mistakes, about whether I was good enough for the job," she said. "But after all the training and seeing how much the team values treating customers with respect, I finally feel like I belong here. I don't just work here, I'm proud of what we're doing." Her words sparked applause from the group, and Michael felt a deep sense of accomplishment. He could see how much Lisa had changed, not just as an employee, but as a person who now understood the impact she had on others. The atmosphere in the room was filled with genuine camaraderie. It was no longer just about providing good service. It was about fostering a workplace where employees respected one another and worked toward the same goal of inclusivity. The event also gave Michael a chance to hear from some of the quieter staff members. Jake, the employee who had helped the woman with the accent months ago, shared his experience. "When I helped that woman, I didn't think much of it. I just thought I was doing my job. But after the training and the conversations we've had, I realized how much a small act of kindness can mean to someone. It's about more than just a sale. It's about making someone feel good about themselves." As the event drew to a close, Michael stood up to address the group. "I'm proud of each and every one of you," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "You've shown that you're more than just employees. You're part of a team that is making a real difference. You've learned to look beyond appearances and treat every customer with kindness and respect. That's the kind of culture we want here, and it starts with you." As Michael observed the continued improvements in his stores, he felt a deep sense of satisfaction. The changes were no longer just about customer service. They had become part of the store's culture. Employees were not only delivering exceptional service, but they were also making genuine connections with customers. The store felt different, and it was clear that the efforts to create a welcoming and inclusive environment were paying off. However, Michael knew that progress wasn't always linear. He understood that it was easy to become complacent when things were going well, and he didn't want his employees to lose sight of what had been accomplished. He knew that real change required continuous effort and commitment, so he decided to keep pushing forward. He thought about ways he could help the team stay motivated and engaged in their growth. One afternoon, Michael organized a special event, something outside the usual routine. He invited all the staff to a community volunteer day. He believed that helping others outside the store would not only build teamwork, but also reinforce the values of empathy and inclusivity. The idea was simple: spend the day volunteering together in their local community, giving back to those who needed it most. The staff responded enthusiastically to the invitation. On the day of the event, they gathered at the store early in the morning, eager to participate. Michael had arranged for them to work with a local food bank, where they would help organize food donations and distribute meals to families in need. It was an opportunity for the employees to bond outside of work, while also contributing to a cause that aligned with the values they had worked so hard to cultivate in the store. As they worked together, Michael watched as the team interacted with the families they were helping. It was clear that they were all putting their hearts into the work. Employees who had previously been shy or hesitant were now taking the lead, offering help to those who needed it most. There was a sense of pride in their actions, and Michael couldn't help but feel proud of them. This experience reminded him of the importance of giving back, not just in terms of business success, but also in fostering a sense of purpose in their work. Throughout the day, Michael had conversations with several employees. He spoke with Lisa, who had been so eager to help from the beginning, and she shared her thoughts on the volunteer experience. "I've always felt good about helping people," she said, "but today it feels different. It feels like we're really making a difference, not just in the store, but in the community. It's not just about selling clothes anymore. It's about connecting with people, making their lives a little better." Her words resonated with Michael. The volunteer day had not only strengthened their bond as a team, but had also deepened their understanding of why inclusivity mattered so much. It was about more than just what they sold. It was about the impact they had on the world around them. Michael felt reassured that they were all on the same page, and that the store's culture of kindness and respect would continue to grow. Later that day, after the work was done, Michael gathered the team for a reflection session. They sat together in a circle, sharing their thoughts about the volunteer experience. It was a chance for everyone to talk about how they felt, what they had learned, and how they could bring that sense of giving into their everyday work. The conversation was heartfelt and honest. Some employees spoke about their own struggles and how helping others had made them feel connected to something bigger. Others reflected on the joy they had seen in the families they helped, realizing how small acts of kindness could make a big difference. For Michael, this day was a turning point. It wasn't just about addressing bias in the workplace anymore. It was about creating a team that felt purpose-driven, motivated by something greater than just their job. They were learning to see the world from different perspectives, to understand the challenges others faced, and to offer compassion and support in ways that went beyond their role in the store. As the months passed, Michael continued to see the fruits of his hard work. The changes he had made in his store were not just visible to him, but to everyone around him: customers, employees, and even other businesses in the area. The culture of inclusivity and respect had become a natural part of the store's environment, and it was evident in every interaction that took place. Customers came in and were greeted warmly, treated with genuine care, and helped with a level of service that felt personal, not transactional. It was a place where everyone felt seen, heard, and valued. One afternoon, as Michael walked through the store, he was approached by a regular customer, an older gentleman who had been shopping at his store for years. The customer smiled at Michael, and his eyes seemed to gleam with appreciation. "I just wanted to thank you," the man said, shaking Michael's hand. "The difference in the way your staff treats me now, it's like night and day. I've always loved shopping here, but lately, I feel like I'm treated like family." Michael felt a warmth spread through him as he listened. He had worked so hard to create a store where everyone felt like they belonged, and it was rewarding to hear that it was making a real difference. "I'm glad to hear that," Michael said, smiling back at the man. "We really strive to make sure everyone feels welcome, no matter who they are. Thank you for sharing that with me." The positive feedback from customers was constant, and it gave Michael the reassurance that the work he had done, and the work his team had put in, was worth it. Yet it wasn't just the compliments that made Michael proud. It was the way his team had transformed. Employees who once seemed uncertain about their roles had now become confident, proactive, and passionate about providing excellent service. They had truly internalized the values of inclusivity and respect, and it showed not just in their work, but in the way they interacted with each other. There was a sense of unity and mutual respect that was evident in every corner of the store. One day, during one of their regular team meetings, Michael noticed that Lisa, one of the employees who had once struggled with customer interactions, was speaking up more confidently. She shared an experience she had with a family who had visited the store recently. "I helped a family today. Mom, Dad, and their kids," she explained. They were having trouble finding the right size for the kids, and instead of just showing them a few things, I took the time to ask what they liked and needed. I even asked the kids what their favorite colors were. By the end, they had everything they needed, and they were so happy. It felt really good to know that I was able to make a difference. Michael smiled as he listened to her, proud of how far she had come. When Lisa had first joined the team, she had been shy and unsure of herself, often struggling to offer the same level of service to everyone. But now, she was an example of the progress the entire team had made. The transformation wasn't just about providing excellent service. It was about building confidence, trust, and empathy within the team. After the meeting, Michael took a moment to reflect on everything they had achieved together. The journey had been challenging, but it had been worth every step. He realized that the true success of the business wasn't just in the sales numbers or the accolades. It was in the lasting impact they had on the people they served and the team they had built. Looking ahead, Michael knew that there was still work to be done. Creating a truly inclusive environment was an ongoing process, and it would take continuous effort to ensure that the values they had instilled in the store remained strong. But for the first time, Michael felt that he was truly on the right path. He had created not just a successful business, but a place where people felt respected, valued, and connected. And that was the kind of success that would last far beyond sales or profits. The store had become more than just a business. It had become a community. Michael knew that as long as they kept working together, as long as they kept listening, learning, and growing, they would continue to create a space where everyone could thrive. It was a legacy he was proud to be a part of, and one he hoped would inspire others to do the same.